Hey, Wixman Ray here. It's Sunday morning. Beautiful day out here in northern Nevada. Sunny out there today. It's supposed to be in the 50s, I believe, out there. So, nice day before the storms start rolling across the west next week. So, anyways, hey, we're looking at our weather satellite here. Our RGB, which stands for red, green, blue. This just shows us what types of clouds are out there. This is real useful for us weathermen. So we've got this centered on the United States here. Out west, it's reddish because the sun was rising, and as it comes up, it's starting to become clearer. But basically, this is just mostly high cloud out here. It looks like it could be a storm, but this kind of rolled through this area yesterday, and it's just high cloud, so nothing underneath it. Just those high clouds that kind of block the sun out a little bit. Yeah. And then farther west, this is our storm that's emerging, coming off the Pacific, our next low pressure system moving into California. So some clouds associated with that. And as the sun's rising out here, you can start seeing some distinction and some lower clouds out there in California below it. And then that kind of extends up north here into this part of the country. Back to the east, you can kind of see the swirl out here. This is this nice low pressure system here that's bringing all the rain and thunderstorms across the south and even up into Ohio Valley. The rain kind of extends back into here, but we'll look at that here in a minute. But you can see this nice swirl of clouds. This is where your thunderstorm activity is going on right here from, the Gulf down here into Florida, Panhandle, and then up into Georgia. It looks like it may be clipping parts of Alabama there, the southeast part. So, yeah. And back here, this is just some kind of clouds wrapping around the backside here into Texas, East Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas. And then you see this stuff back here that's not moving a lot. This is all fog. A lot of fog reported this morning, and I'll show you that on the observations here. There's some dense fog, quarter mile, half mile type stuff out there. So, and that formed because it rained out here yesterday, and then it cleared up last night, and that's perfect conditions. And you got the light winds and high pressure building in from the west over here, so that's what caused this fog to form last night and give you some fog back here. So, yeah. And that'll probably lift up into those low stratus clouds and burn off through the day. Most of it should be gone by this afternoon. Hopefully it won't linger all day, but you never know. This time of year, the sun angle is still low, so it has a harder time burning off that kind of stuff. And then up north, pretty clear up here. I mean, it looks like there's a weak disturbance up here. A few clouds up in here, and I'll show you what's causing that here a little bit later. This green up here is all the snow that's on the ground. I don't remember if I told you yesterday. You can kind of see it here. There's some green over Lake Erie. That's ice over the lake there. And there was a Facebook post the other day that showed a big crack that formed like kind of in the middle of it. So it was kind of cool. It was a close-up satellite view of that. So anyways, so that was kind of cool. In fact, let's see if we can zoom in on that and take a look here. Here we go. Let's see if this will show us enough detail or not. Yeah, these might be some little cracks, these little black lines you see in here. But yeah, the one I saw the other day, I mean, it just was like, so. But yeah, this is all ice across Lake Erie. So what this will do is prevent snow, lake effect bands setting up over Buffalo area until that melts. But because the cold air comes over those warmer waters, and that's what causes those lake effect snows. So back here over Lake Ontario, you can see it's ice free, so they can still get it. But up here, when you got ice over it, it's gonna pretty much, put a kibosh on lake effect snow. So just, hey, something pretty cool that you should know about if you're curious about weather and why it happens, we'll go back to our big picture again. Yeah, so I showed you pretty much everything else. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for the satellite. We'll go to our surface observations and our radar that's overlaid. So this is California out here. We got some light to moderate rain here up in northern California and a little bit farther south near San Francisco and the Bay Area down there. And then looks like some patchy fog up here in Oregon and some of the valleys, it looks like. A little bit of rain showers moving through, nothing too big. Maybe a little bit of snow back up here into parts of, not Minnesota, but Montana and northern Idaho. So elsewhere, chilly this morning across parts of Nevada, upper 20s. A few areas a little warmer. These are where they're getting those clouds, so it kept the temperature up this morning. 30s and low 40s. So yeah, 41. What's that? 47 in Salt Lake, I think, or is that what that says? Yeah, it's about 47 degrees. So if you're flying in there or if you live there, hey, a little cool this morning, but not bad for middle of February. We're actually halfway through February, man. February 15th, 2026. Can you believe that? Yeah, and then here's so you see those little red things that indicates fog. So this was Dodge City had less than a quarter mile, so pretty thick out there. Half mile, quarter mile at Russell, Kansas. Over towards MCI, which is the Kansas City airport, they got less than a quarter mile, so some pretty dense fog in parts out through here. And then these reds are just low ceilings, low clouds, less than 1,000 feet. So pilots are more concerned about the level of clouds than most other people. But yeah, and so you can kind of see how these winds are kind of going like this. So that's all associated with this low. So you got the kind of northerly winds pulling back here, but relatively warm. I mean, look at that. It's 40s and 50s back here. So no Arctic air to speak of anywhere, really. I mean, you go all the way up here to north, International Falls, 31 for February. That's good. That's good, Looks like a little bit of fog up here by the lake here, up by Lake Ontario, or not Ontario, Lake Superior. Those look like flurries, possibly. There's a little weak disturbance moving through that area. This is where the coolest air is this morning. Some teens, it's warming up. It might have got down in the single digits last night, but it's warming back up into the 20s for most of Maine and parts of the Northeast. Yeah, a little bit of light snow lingering over here for, this is Nova Scotia and New Brunswick's right there. So yeah, in that part of the world. All right, so yeah, back here. So we'll just look at this and then get talking about our forecast. So you can see this low pressure spinning. You can kind of see it in the swirl in the clouds back over Mississippi here. So you got some light rains back here, and then maybe some, it looks like some moderate heavier rains up here in Tennessee. And that extends over into the Carolinas and southern Virginia, into Kentucky. Yeah, even on the northern fringe, it's warm enough for all rain. So I know the models were showing maybe a hint of some light snow today up in this area, but it looks like it might be warm enough through here. It's 32 there, but it'll warm up during the day. So I think it might be warm enough where we won't see much in the way of wintry precip up through here as this system moves through. So anyways, that's just kind of on the spot what's going on. Yeah, it looks like some moderate to heavy rain showers and definitely thunder as you move through parts of Georgia down into Florida and the Gulf Coast region. Some windy conditions back behind that's out over the Gulf. Looks like some 30, 40 mile an hour winds blowing. So, choppy waters, stormy waters out there over the Gulf with that system moving through. Yeah, so I'll show you the storm reports. This is from yesterday. I think this goes through, I don't know when it goes through this morning. Yeah. So all these blues here across, this is Texas here, so East Texas and Southern Texas. These blues are wind damage reports. You can see those all across Louisiana and a little bit into Mississippi. These reds, there was a couple tornado reports with those storms yesterday. I think those were more towards last night or late in the day yesterday, but just saw some wind damage, roof damage. It looked like probably nothing real. I mean, no real strong tornadoes, but there was a couple tornado reports in there. And then these greens back here in southern Texas, a couple hail reports too. So yeah, so like I said yesterday, wind was the biggest threat, and that's kind of what we saw out here. Mostly winds, a couple tornadoes, and a couple hail reports. So thought I'd show you that. So there was a little bit of severe weather. So hey, I guess we were right. Now that I'm bragging, but I should know this stuff. I'm a meteorologist. So yeah, so hey, you've seen this before. Actually, I have a different view of this over here. I wanted to show you. So, whoops, it updated on me. Let me get it back up for you guys. Sorry about that. This thing has a mind of its own. Vorticity. So this is our winds. Not winds, but this shows you the wind flow. So the winds will be blowing this kind of through these contours here. These are called isoplus on our 500 millibar chart, this is a forecast chart, and this is at 18,000 feet roughly above sea level. So anyways, so kind of as a refresher, this is a ridge of high pressure. When you see it kind of going like this, kind of anticyclonic like this. And then when you see this down here, more of a cyclonic, you got a low pressure over there. That's Mississippi. Yeah, this is a low pressure, so, and we call this kind of a trough of low pressure. And then there's actually a closed off low pressure right there. You can see a weak little trough up here, and that's where we saw that little disturbance in the clouds up by the Great Lakes earlier when I was showing you satellite. Looks like another little trough, weak stuff up in Canada. What's that, up in Saskatchewan maybe? I don't have my provinces overlaid, but yeah. And then you see this low that was kind of spinning over Nova Scotia near Maine there. So, and then you see the next trough of low pressure out here over the North Pacific here, moving into California. So that's what's causing that rain. And this is what's causing the storm here, this whole dip in the pattern. So I'll show you what's going on here. This is kind of a useful tool here it's easier to see it on this chart than say at the surface sometimes. So this is pretty much now, and now we're moving through the day on Sunday. So this is tonight. You can see that system out here starting to rotate and move offshore tonight into tomorrow. So that thing will be gone on Monday. So, another 24 hours, and then all the storms will roll out over the water. So, yeah, and then you got this northern little clip of it. There's not a lot associated with it up there. There's some energy, but it's not really tapping into a lot of the moisture. But you are getting the rain up into Virginia here from kind of the wraparound of that low. But yeah, and then so this is tomorrow morning. So you see this is kind of a broad ridge over most of the center part of the country, extending through the east, and it's starting to leave the western part of the United States. And you see this dip now coming in, and this is a sign of what's coming here for next week. So let's roll through Monday. So we see this. So this is our first little system. You're seeing this trough of low pressure, and there's a second piece of it farther north up here. But that's going to be your storm number one. And you see that rolls out into the Rockies as we move into Monday night into Tuesday morning into Colorado. And then, by Tuesday, it's already out into the northern and central plains here. So that's your storm number one. And then, hey, there's number two already on shore by Tuesday, coming across California and the Pacific Northwest. And we'll scroll through the day on Tuesday. So, you know, these are pretty, you know, fairly rapidly moving. So, I mean, this is already out here by Tuesday evening, and this second system's already come on shore or in the process of coming on shore on Tuesday. And then let's go forward into Wednesday. So this is Wednesday morning. You can see this system's already way out here moving into the Great Lakes. It kind of wraps back into the Dakotas. And then here's that second system. So this is going to bring all this wet weather, rain and snow out here to the west, and then bring some weather up in this part of the country. Not a lot down this area because the Gulf moisture will be kind of cut off, and we've talked about that over the last couple days. So yeah, so let's scroll through the rest of the week here, show you what's going on. So this is Storm 2, late Wednesday. And then you see a third, it's a weaker one, but you see it kind of coming out here. This is Storm 3, a little bit weaker, some energy with it. And that's going to kind of wind us up through the week. And you see that moves in on Thursday across the west. And then you start seeing this out here. This is a ridge building back in, a ridge of high pressure building back in by Thursday, late Thursday, and that'll move into the west as we go into late in the week, into the weekend. But yeah, you can see, so this is that Storm 3. This was Storm 2 that's already moving out into the plains now on late Thursday, and then here's what's left of this one. The first storm, it's already clear out east. So these are pretty progressive systems. And this is Friday. I mean, you can see how quick they're moving. This is Friday during the day. I mean, this is that Storm 2 that's already way out here in the Great Lakes. That's the remnants of that first storm. It's kind of washing out. And here's that third storm dipping through the Rockies here. And then you see that little ridge, and it looks like there might be some weak energy coming in towards the end of the week out west. We'll see how that kind of develops. But when we get this far out, you got to kind of take stuff with a grain of salt. But I think it's a pretty good bet on these three systems here. There could be some timing differences and where the rain breaks out and that kind of stuff. But for the most part, you're going to see three separate systems. That's pretty much a given. That's been pretty consistent for the last couple days now. So this is going into late Saturday. So yeah, we see this weak little system. There may not be much, you know, you get the rain shadow out here, so this might just be clouds. There might be a little bit of precip over the higher elevation, but we'll have to see what the surface shows us. But yeah, they're hinting at maybe something there, but with this far out, when you see something weaker, you just kind of take it with a grain of salt. But this bigger stuff probably going to happen. You know, I have higher confidence. Let's just say that. So yeah, so this is Saturday, and you kind of see generally it was kind of an east to west with some dips in the flow, you know, from the trough and ridges. But so we have it's called a zonal or progressive pattern. So that keeps the system moving across the United States pretty quickly. And see what we see developing here, if this pans out, this is Sunday. So you see, this is where it gets a little more meridional, as we call it. So you're starting to see, you know, this is a ridge of high pressure that's building across this part of the country, and then this trough of low pressure is dipping. And so this typically is what will bring the cooler air across the east, the colder air, and then it'll be mild out through here. So this is showing some signs of developing as we get into day 7 here from the forecast. And that kind of extends into Monday if this does pan out. This is the GFS American model. So doesn't look like any Arctic outbreaks, but you know, the cold air might start creeping into this, you know, the Northeast, maybe a little farther south. We'll have to see. I just looked at the long range temperatures down across the south. They're not showing anything super cold, but we'll have to watch, see how much cold air this brings in, this little trough of low pressure in the upper atmosphere as we head into, you know, 7-8 days out. So yeah, so I showed you that. Okay, let's go back to our final thing that we're going to cover. I don't want to show you that, but let's, oops. Sorry, I didn't have this set up properly. Okay. So yeah, so here we're back down at the surface. Let's get to, this is, about right now. So this is that low pressure we saw out here spinning. So other than that, and yeah, we saw a little bit of precip up in here, kind of a little bit of moisture left from that system coming on the Pacific Northwest. And then this is the next low pressure bringing rain into California here. And you can see, maybe some heavier stuff near the coast there as we saw on the radar. So we're kind of scrolling through time. So this is tonight. So look at that. It's starting to press into California. You're starting to see snow develop in the Sierras. And then this thing's already, looks like we'll have some storms and showers going on across Florida, lingering rain across the mid-Atlantic down into the Carolinas. But that'll pretty much wind down by tomorrow morning and be gone. And rolling offshore. So this is Monday midday after, and this is later in the day. So you can see, there we go. There's that round one that we talked about, that first storm coming in the west. So lots of rain, even Southern California. It looks like might be some pockets of moderate to heavy rain. So something to watch. In fact, let me get you something here. I got to pull up I wanted to show you something, but I forgot to bring it up here. Let's see. Okay, we can get there from here. This is called the Weather Prediction Center. They're based out of the D.C. area up there in College Park, I believe, Maryland. I don't want. Those are pretty cool graphics. But I wanted to show you this is called QPF, or this is basically the rain amounts. So let's just do days 1 through 3 here. So this will get the 72-hour precipitation here. So this runs from this morning, Sunday, through Wednesday morning, roughly. And yeah, you can see this is all pretty much from the stuff that we'll see today. There might be a weak system coming through the middle of the week, but you can see these blues are what, 1 inch to 1.5 inches, So, some decent rains out there, especially from the system that's moving through today. But look at this out west, man. I mean, they got some blues and reds. I mean, that's getting up over 2 inches in liquid, even down into here. Now, a lot of that heavier stuff will be in the higher, in the coastal mountains and then the Sierras. But look at that. I mean, gosh, what is that? 4 or 5 of liquid. This is liquid equivalent. This is all going to be snow, so you convert that to snow, and that's probably, I don't know, 5-6 feet of snow. I don't know. I'm just guessing. It's going to be, that's why I've been saying feet of snow. Even out into here, you're going to get in on the action across Nevada, all of the west here. So, so you can see even up in the mountains here in the Wasatch and some of these other ranges get upwards of 1 inch of liquid. So, I mean, they could get, some pretty good snows for the ski areas and for the snowpack. So definitely need it. It's been dry for a good part of the winter now. And so, yeah, I just wanted to show you that. It gives you kind of perspective of how much rain and and how much snow we could see over the mountains out here. So let's go back here. So this was our first system with all the rain and snow. I would not recommend traveling I-80 through Truckee Pass, going into California from Nevada, or vice versa. Unfortunately, the truckers have to deal with that, but I would not be surprised. A lot of times they close the interstate until they can clear it, especially if it comes down fast and furious, which is what it looks like will happen. So we're moving into Tuesday morning now, Monday night, Tuesday morning. So you can see, it looks like some rain and snow. It's going to start cooling off back here too as we head into Tuesday. So some of these valleys will probably get on some of the snow across Nevada and even into Utah, and definitely up into Idaho. So you can see the rain goes clear down into Arizona. So Phoenix might get some rain down there, it looks like. Southern California is going to get a good bit of rain. So I don't know if that's going to cause any, the rain issues they get down there with the heavy rain. And the landslides and that kind of crap that goes on down there in Southern California. But something to watch for. I would watch your local forecast if you live out there. So here's that first system, and then storm number two is bringing another round of rain and snow for the Sierras here on as we're going through the day on Tuesday. And you can see this. We've been talking about this for a couple of days. So this all these lines that are bunched together, these are isobars. So that's telling you it's going to be windy through these parts, through the plains all the way up into Canada probably. So yeah, as you get this low pressure developing out here in Montana and moving into the northern plains, and then you kind of see the snow breaks out here. Showing a little bit of rain. This could be thunderstorms. Something to watch. We're going into Tuesday, late Tuesday into Wednesday morning. But you can see there's not much precipitation down there. That's because all the energy's up here, and even though you kind of got a cold front extending in this general area, the Gulf of Mexico's kind of been cut off. You don't have a good flow of southerly flow. It's kind of more of a southwest type. So it's coming. Whoops, sorry. It's coming out of the deserts of Mexico and the high terrain back here instead of this good flow pump right up here. So that's what, and we've talked about that. So yeah, you're going to see some rain up into Michigan, Minnesota, all the way across into Pennsylvania, Illinois. On the northern fringes, though, it looks like it'll be a wintry, some wintry precip. Could be a mix or just all snow, even up into New York. So, and that's been pretty consistent the last couple of days. And this is going into Wednesday here. That breaks out on Tuesday across the plains, late Tuesday into Wednesday. So, and you see that storm one, yeah. See how we talked about it? There's some lingering light snow, but it's weakening and kind of going away. And here's that second one back here. So, track back here, you can see it. Yeah, it came on shore. Even a little bit of rain for Southern California again there on Wednesday. Late, it looks like Tuesday night, Wednesday morning time frame. And that brings another round of snow for this area, Great Basin into Utah and Colorado. So they'll get another round chance. This will be the best. And you can see it's all blue back here. That's telling you it's gotten colder. So by Wednesday, late Tuesday into Wednesday is when the coldest air will come into this area, and valleys will get snow where it does precipitate. Yeah, so this is what, Wednesday? So that was storm one. Storm two's out here. And then you see it emerge. You see this low pressure emerge. This is the remnants of this storm back here. And there's not a lot of moisture. So you can kind of see this is a ridge, kind of high pressure across the Gulf of the Gulf, I'll call it, for purposes. I don't want to get into politics, okay, and all that, because people will. But so low pressure, so you don't have a lot of moisture. It's still kind of coming out of this area, the southwest and from Mexico. You get a little bit of rain breaking out. You got like a warm front and then a cold front back here attached to this low. So you got a little bit of rain breaking out over here. So it gets some moisture, and this is going into what? This is late Thursday into Friday morning, and it starts picking up that moisture now, and that's because you see this southerly return off the Gulf, bringing up some moisture. So, and you'll probably might see some thunderstorms back in here, more convective-y, showery type things, thunderstorms. So, yeah. So that's Friday morning, and that's your storm two. This is that third storm, really. That's where you're starting to see it. This is this third storm coming on shore. Not quite as strong. Still got some rain and snow with it. Looks like it takes a more southern track, maybe. Looks like northern Arizona may get in on some snow. Northern New Mexico, if this model's correct. And then the energy emerges out here in the, this part of the country, the Arklatex, into moving towards the Ohio Valley. Maybe some heavier rains. We'll have to watch that. But this is that third storm, and this is Saturday, so there might be some rain and thunderstorms. Yeah, so, but you can see there's really, it gets colder up here, but not like Arctic cold, not like single digits, not like we had when we had that big winter storm that went through the south, this part of the country, what, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Nothing like that. So, I mean, it'll get colder up here, maybe closer to normal or just below normal, but nothing. It's not going to be like the polar vortex they talk about. I just call it Arctic air. It comes out of the Arctic region. Yeah, but it definitely looks like it'll get colder. This is next Monday, even down into the southeast. It may get a little bit colder, so something to keep an eye on. But the forecast could change. This is quite a ways out. And you see that next round coming in the west there, Sunday and Monday, towards the end of the 7-day period. So that's pretty much all I've got for today. Man, this has lasted 30 minutes already. Dang. I've just gone on, haven't I? So I'll conclude this. I just want to say one thing. I've been occasionally showing you weather around the world. I think I'm going to try to do that on a weekly basis now and do a separate video where it's kind of the world roundup or something like that of weather. Just to show you something different, especially if you like weather or you're curious about weather or you plan on traveling somewhere. You can just see what's going on over there. So that's the plan. I'll probably start doing those either on Sundays or Mondays, depending on how things go for me. Anyways, I appreciate y'all's being here, listening to me, and subscribing and liking or whatever you do with my videos. And hopefully you'll come back for more. And this is Wixman Ray out.